All right, I'll call this meeting to order. I'm going to ask Sue Gould to do our roll call, please.
Carrie Germain.
Present.
Holly Jarvis.
Here.
Jack Sayer.
Here.
Kim Winter.
Here.
Jessica Lenave.
Here.
Andrea Fick.
Here.
Chuck Melkey.
Here.
All here.
Thank you, Sue. All right, I'm going to now invite everyone in our audience and maybe at home to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, now we have an opportunity for public comment. If you'd like to address the board, please come forward. It has to be something that's on our agenda, agenda specific. We will have a later public comment towards the end of our meeting. Please come forward to the podium, state your name, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anyone? Okay. We have before us a consent agenda. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack?
Support with one change.
Chuck?
Gary?
Sure, what's the change, Chuck?
I would just like to add on the agenda that I would like to talk about a athletic van for the athletic department, and just to get the ball rolling on that for approval at the finance committee, though, if the board so chooses to turn it over to the finance and operations committee.
An athletic van, V-A-N?
Yes, we don't have one,
Okay.
and I would like to talk about that and make a motion to move it to finance or / building operations later.
Okay, so is that more appropriate for us to discuss first, or you just want to take it to board action?
Just board action.
Okay, so why don't we make that H?
Thank you.
And with that change, any other comments or questions?
Nope.
Hearing none, Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Holly Jarvis.
Here.
Kim Winter.
Here.
Yes or no?
Yeah, yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
Jessica Lenave.
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. All right, now we are going to turn it over to Mr. Heatherton for our superintendent report.
Well, thank you very much. Always exciting times. We are just recovering from our homecoming festivities last week. I just want to give a big shout out to all our staff that contributed. Many long days and hours were put into many activities at the stadium, the game, the dance, and all those that were going on, especially our teacher sponsors and our admin who put in all the effort to have a good time for the kids. Next, we do have our November 7th operating renewal coming up. As a reminder to the public, this is a 18 mills non-homestead only. This is a renewal that happens every 10 years. Generates for Swartz Creek approximately $6.6 million per year for the general budget. This doesn't increase or decrease a single family home ownership. And we have to this date sent out a informational piece to families. We've sent out an FAQ to families. We're getting ready to send postcards out to the entire community. And the FAQ is also on the website. And Ashley and I are going to be handing out flyers at the home game next week. So if any of you fine folks would like to join us there on the concourse just inside the gates before the game to hand those out to our community, you are more than welcome to join us. You're always in the concourse handing out things, so, you know.
I'll be there.
So we look forward to that. We've had some conversations about board workshops, and as you know, it was requested a long time ago by multiple people to have the superintendent evaluation workshops. That's our November one. Normally we have 4 quarterly workshops that we go into the calendar. I'm going to propose that in order to go over the budget process as Chuck requested and project prioritization, as well as I think, a self-assessment for the new year, we might kind of, instead of spreading them out equally, start the new year with a self-assessment, go over the budget process, and then do some project prioritization. So I'll get some projected dates out there, and then we'll have those with the calendar in the new year as well. GCI tour and presentation is happening October 19th, and you can RSVP to Sue if you want to go on the GCI tour and presentation. Our board tours are happening October 18th, the day before, from 9 to 11:30. And we do have a couple of handouts here, so if you're interested in the GCABM Career Institute tour, here's that flyer. This one is an example of the postcard that's going to be going home on operating renewal millage. And then this one is the FAQ that was sent out and is on the website. Two more items. We do have a new aspiring administrators cohort starting. This is the first ever Swartz Creek aspiring administrators cohort. We have 8 teachers signed up. It's going to be a monthly meeting. Our first one is October 17th, and some of the topics throughout the year will be evaluation, leadership, MyKIP, discipline, MTSS from an admin, understanding, budgeting, and coaching and reflection. Big thanks to Mr. Kitchen for the vision of AP Dragons, which started this movement, and now developing our own teachers internally so that we have the capacity to slide into leadership spots when they present themselves. Thank you, Mr. Kitchen. And finally, we do have the Genesee area board members holiday dinner at Zender's on November 30th. I think that's also an RSVP to Sue. And we will have our own musical presentation from our high school. So once we get that all set up, you can join us, have a great dinner. You can bring a spouse, and you can listen to entertainment from your school district. Oh, I did have one more. Governor Whitmer signed yesterday the new retirement law. So it now makes a retiree from public schools can come back within the first 6 months and make $15,000 per calendar year. So for example, if someone just retired, they can come back now. They could make $15,000 through December 31st. They can make another $15,000 in the 24 year. And then after 6 months away from retirement, that goes uncapped. So if you're a retired teacher or bus driver or any other position out there and you want to come back and make some money, we have positions available.
For those of us that don't know, what was the rule before?
It's been a lot of things. A long time ago, it was capped at a larger number, and then it got capped around 30%. And then they recently had done a 9-month stop. So then there became this negotiations for 9 months was too long to wait when you have a worker shortage. And they had a $10,000 cap on the 9 months. So it's been a lot of things. So they negotiated a larger cap and a shorter waiting period.
Do a lot of people come back from retirement?
Not a ton.
Okay.
Normally, you might get a substitute teacher every now and then. And if you need someone to take over a building, like we've had step-in administrators who will run a building for 4 months, that kind of a thing, on an emergency basis, as opposed to hiring mid-year sometimes, if they're available. Yeah.
Thanks, Rod. Any questions for Rod? No? All right. Thank you as always to you and your teams. Okay, moving on, we have our student board representative report. That was a
Hello,
test.
everyone. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Hello, everyone. I hope you guys all enjoyed last week's fun activities. It was so great seeing our community and school come together to enjoy the game and parade, even with the sunshine and rain, unfortunately. At the high school, things are starting to slow down after such a busy week last week, but there are a couple of new updates. So National Honor Society inductions are coming up next Monday. Our band just attended Festival last night, which is one of their most important competitions of the year, and they received a 1, which is the highest score, so congratulations to our band. Student Council is now on to planning Stuff the Bus in November. They'll be planning on organizing food donations and sign-ups for anyone who wants to attend. As well as events, we had our first Students of the Month, who was Lily Thompson, Sophia Johnston, Kimber Simpson, and Michael Allen. I interviewed Lily Thompson, who has been a Student of the Month multiple times, and she said creating bonds and relationships with teachers is so important, as well as being prepared and having what's needed every day. This Friday, our district has no school for teachers work day, so I know a lot of us are excited for the 3-day weekend. Sorry to all the teachers who will be waking up bright and early on that day. Lastly, I just wanted to touch base on the roundtables once again. Mr. Clark and I have met a couple times, and we're still in the process of planning our first date in November that works for everyone. So if any of you guys have something that you specifically want to talk about or like that you really think is important, just like get with me and I can make sure it's on the agenda for that day. But any sort of feedback from you guys would be super helpful and very much appreciated. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Any questions?
Are you gonna send out like a survey to us, like as a doodle survey?
I can if you guys want me to. I can make one and you guys can just put in feedback.
I think that's what we did last time. Like a date though, a date suggestion. Like when you talk to Mr. Clark, like give us a couple of date options maybe.
Yeah, I've met with Sue a couple times and we're still trying to work things out, but her and I will definitely get a couple dates in mind.
Perfect. And if I can get your email afterwards, so we can exchange emails with ideas. Perfect, thank you.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
We mentioned Students of the Month. I wanted to mention the Teacher of the Month, which I saw on Facebook, who was one of my teachers back in high school. It was Mr. Nick Price. I just wanted to congratulate him for being Teacher of the Month as well.
Thanks, Jack. Well deserved. Anybody else? Okay, moving on. There is information in your packet about non-certified staff employment. And then we'll go to the board subcommittee reports. I will start with academic achievement. We met on the 3rd, and Mr. Kitchen gave us a great presentation, and I think we'll be seeing snippets of it. Achievement teams and deficit thinking, and it was very thought-provoking. I went back to the June newsletter to get some of the information, but the MyKIP goal is consistent with what Jim was presenting, and that's our 5-year goal that connects directly with questioning. And it was interesting when I reread it that teachers ask about 400 questions each day, which is so interesting. It's astounding, actually. And that was a very good overview. Jim talked about the learning of a typical student and how important prior knowledge and experiences are, and not all students have those experiences as a basis. And he gave us an article on the Pygmalion effect that talked about how if you believe something in a person, it can become reality. So I'm hoping Jim will share that information as well. It was really interesting. And so a Pygmalion effect is basically high expectations lead to improved performance in an area, while low expectations can lead to worse. And I haven't been able to pull out this study yet, but it is interesting enough to do that. It's a 1987 Brophy and Good study that says teachers may unknowingly send different messages to low achievers and high achievers. Low achievers may receive less feedback, more insincere praise, more criticism, and might be called on less than their classmates in general. For example, students that are labeled as gifted may succeed, and students identified as a troublemaker may fall behind. So I'm hoping we'll build on that, learn more about that. And the committee was very grateful for that information and agreed that it would be very helpful for this group, the board and the community, to see similar information at a future full board meeting. And that was it. Any questions on that meeting? All right, let's go to policy, Jack.
Thank you, Carrie. So policy was called to order at 5:08 PM. Present was myself, Carrie, Kim Winter, Jim Kitchen, Rod Heatherton, Kevin Claren, and Michelle Dexter. Our first item on our agenda was the second reading of, I have policy 507, but I think it's 5707, which is in, that has to do with wellness and lunch etiquette. The committee briefly discussed the policy to do with wellness and lunch etiquette in terms of bullying and discrimination for those who qualify for free or reduced lunch. This is coming to the board again today to be voted on and hopefully adopted. This is kind of already our practice. This is basically, it just says that if we have students who have free and reduced lunch, we don't discriminate against them. Next item on the agenda was the Troon flag response. The board received word back from Troon on the question recently posed to them about policies regarding flags and political speech as it pertains to displaying in the classroom. Troon's response was essentially that if the flag or symbols are part of a particular club, the board may not violate the freedom of speech for that club. If the flags or symbols are flown or shown during the classroom period, the board does have the authority to take certain actions. If the symbols or flags pertain to the curriculum of the particular class, the board generally has a bit more of a limited power to remove them. However, if there is no curricular reason for the symbols or flags to be in the classroom, the board or designee does have the power to have it removed. This generally is not an issue in Swartz Creek Community Schools, though if it does become an issue, the board can take action if necessary. Next on our agenda was vaping. Trustee Kim Winter brought up the issue of vaping in Swartz Creek schools, and while vaping is certainly almost an issue in every school, we discussed ideas on how to help with the problems in our own district. During the discussion, the committee came up with many great ideas to help dissuade students from vaping. Some of the great ideas included community service, raising the cost of the tickets for second and third offenses, creating a support group, and more. It was a very productive conversation. I'd like to thank Kim Winter for bringing up the concern and many great ideas. There was no public comment. There was no extra committee comment. Policy committee adjourned at 5:50 p.m. and our next meeting is Wednesday, November 1st. That's a Wednesday. Normally it'd be a Tuesday, but we moved it one day due to the Halloween holiday. So that'll be Wednesday, November 1st instead of Tuesday, just for everybody's information.
Thanks, Jack. Any questions for Jack?
I have two.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jack, on the vaping, and I know it's in our handbook, and Jim or Rod probably can address it if you don't know it right off the top of your head. Third offense, what's the offense if they were caught 3 times doing it?
I know it's a $100 ticket.
Yeah, it stays at $100.
And then, Jim,
So
you
it's
can
1,
answer this.
3, and 5 days. The third would be a 5-day.
Uh-huh.
Sorry. And a ticket every time.
And what happens if they do it a 4th time, just out of curiosity?
Well-
Does it cap out at 5 days?
It does not. The buildings can go up to 10 days with suspensions, and it would be referred to us. But I don't know of any situation where we've gotten to 4.
Okay. Because after the 3rd time, I'm at the attitude that if they're going to disrupt the classroom, that they need to go.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, if you smoke in a building and you're an employee, the employer tells you after a couple times, hey, we're going to fire you. And it's just disruptive for the rest of the students. So it's not productive for any of them. I just didn't know if we let it go 15 times or whatever, but 4 seems to be reasonable. That's in a calendar year, I take it, or in their school year? Or does it start, at a certain time or end at a certain time?
No, they can go back to other years.
Oh.
If you're in the high school and you have the third offense, it can be treated as a third offense. It doesn't just
Oh,
stop.
I didn't know
after a
that.
year.
That might be too strict.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Well, that was a question I wanted cleared up. And the second one for Jack is on the flags, and maybe it needs to go to Rod. Did Thrun send us an actual language on it? Did you guys see language from them?
Language for a specific
The
policy?
flags. I'm
No.
asking about the flags.
Right, but for a specific policy for them?
Yes.
I don't think we got specific language.
They left it kind of open.
Yeah, we were, so in policy, basically, we're going to, because it's kind of not a big issue, if at all an issue right now with disruptions and such. We're gonna wait until it might actually become an issue, if it ever does. And if it ever does become an issue, then we would contact Troon to have them actually draft up a policy if we need one. But the committee kind of decided that right now, we don't need to put into actual verbiage, an actual policy yet.
And how does that affect our employees that work in those classrooms? Are they underneath the same guidelines, or can they bring in whatever flags they want to hang? Do we know that answer?
Well, if they sponsor a club,
Yep, they
the
can do that.
club it can have its own symbols and such. We do have a classroom that does have, for instance, a pride flag. The sponsor of the club for it's our pride club, whatever it's called, I'm not sure. But it's the sponsor of that pride club that has that flag in their classroom.
So that's a political statement.
Right, and right now,
Can I bring in a gun flag? It's public property. I'm just asking.
You're saying that that's their club that they sponsor is the club that relates to the flag,
correct.
but they should only fly it then after school during the club, right?
Okay, why is it in a classroom all day long? Because even if it's their club, that's public property. And if they're going to put in there what they believe in, whether it's a club or not, then why can't somebody off the street come in and put in a flag? It's public property, the taxpayers are paying for it. Why can't they hang flags?
Well, you can hang flags. A person who doesn't work for the school couldn't, because they could be trespassing or coming in unauthorized.
But
But
why
if
does an
the
employee get to do it?
all employees have freedom of speech rights, just as students do up to a certain extent. Do you want to know what the true,
They have freedom of speech. I'm not arguing that. I'm a big proponent of that. But when they're working at a work facility and they have other people coming in there and that flag is flying, then other people should be able to fly a flag there.
other teachers could fly other flags there, that's what Troon said. Unless you ban all political flags, teachers can fly flags.
I'd like to ban all political flags. I'd like to have the United States flag there, the state of Michigan, Swartz Creek, and then if we're playing another club, a sporting event, then we could put their flags up.
Well, that's,
I don't,
do you want to make a motion on that? You
I mean,
can.
what about Antifa or whatever, BLM, or anybody? They can just put up whatever flag they want on public property. It's still public property. I don't care if a teacher works there or not. That is public property, paid for by the taxpayers. Their employee, they get allowed to put a flag in there, then other people get allowed to put a flag in there. I'm paying the tax dollars for that building. Why can't I do it? Because I'm not an employee? But they get to put in their ideology into the school? I don't agree with that. I don't know if I want to make a motion, but I think that needs to be addressed, seriously.
If you want.
Because it's discriminatory towards me then, or somebody else. And guns aren't popular, so if I'm a pro-gunner, or if I'm a don't tread on me flag or whatever, then all of a sudden, and if a teacher could do that, I guarantee somebody'd be raising heck about that. That's offensive. I don't agree with that.
Chuck, did you get a chance to look at the Troon?
No, that's why I asked if there was an actual,
Maybe we can share that
That's a
with
great
you
idea.
again.
I can
And-
share it out again.
Yeah.
That we have two opinions that have come from Troon, and I've shared both of those, and we shared them at policy. He asked earlier, Jack, if it was an actual policy that Troon shared. Troon didn't share an actual policy, they shared an opinion. So their original opinion was shared, and then we asked specifically about clubs, as Jack referred to, and their opinion, as Jack said, was that club members could have a flag up after school. They could have one up before school. They can have one up during school if there's not a ban on political flags. All political flags from all political ideologies in most schools, social studies, ELA, especially if they're studying a topic related to anything, is viable. There are a few districts, not very many, I think less than 3, that have banned flags in the state of Michigan. If you do that, Troon's opinion is it must be all political ideologies, not one or another. That's really just the summary of their opinion. I think if we dig even back to the 2022 July update pack, there was a mention of a flag policy, and with many of the policies, we chose to intentionally leave blank. We didn't adopt a policy. So we can look back to that packet. There was nothing about flags in the July 23 update.
So we'll send you the document from Tarun, Chuck,
you,
so
Carrie.
you can look at it.
Would you like us to put it on the next policy agenda as well, to talk about again?
Yeah, I'll try to make it to that.
Okay.
Meeting, yeah, so we can have more in-depth discussion about flags. And this includes, are flags being flown in elementary school of different flavors? Do we know?
To the
It's
best,
all-
to the
it's all
best of my
schools.
knowledge, it
Okay.
is just the United States flag, the Michigan flag, or the Swartz Creek flag. I don't know, like I said, I don't know of any others. I could be ignorant, but those are the best, to the best of my knowledge, all that's being flown in elementaries.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you. All right, any other questions for Jack? All right. Let's move on to finance. Jessica?
Are you
No,
ready?
No, I'm not. I had yours in front of mine. Sorry. Oh, there I am. Now I'm ready. All right. So the Finance Committee met on Monday, October 2nd, and we started at 2:08 p.m. In attendance was myself, Chuck Melke, Rod Heatherton, Jim Kitchen, Jamie Cowan, Arcia Hunt, and from the public was Mr. Pobosik. At the time of our meeting, the cash and investment summary was not available, so it was not reviewed. Since then, we have received this report. The general fund is at $4,441,620.85. The sinking fund is $2,579,024.17. Food services, $744,540.97. The student activity fund is $315,944.41. Debt service is at $2,959,938.01. Our capital project fund is $3,027,046.25, leaving our total cash and investments at $14,068,114.66. The check register was also not available to be reviewed, so next month we will be reviewing this month and next month. Oh, no, we won't. We will be reviewing October because our next meeting is October 30th. So November's numbers will not be available at that point. Next agenda item was our summer tax resolution. It is annually needs to be adopted. In the summer, we collect, and we have historically split our tax collection. In the summer, we asked the city of Swartz Creek, Mundy Township, Flint Township, and Flint to collect their taxes for us. And in the winter, Argentine, Clayton Township, and Gaines collect taxes for us. The next agenda item was the ETO designee resolution. We need a one-time designation that specifically identifies the ETO as our director of business, which is currently Jamie Cowan. Next agenda item, as we've already discussed, is the operating millage renewal. The postcards and newsletters will be mailed to every resident. That is on the ballot for the November 7th election. Additionally, we had an Edmentum quote for the Virtual Learning Center. That's our courseware there. Principal Jody Morgan has requested a 3-year price quote totaling $118,620.26. We had a breakout where it is a cost savings to us to do a 3-year price plan. Next was public comment, and Mr. Babosic informed us that on the absentee ballot, the operating millage is the only item on that ballot. Committee comments were any food service items that were discussed. Oh, participation is still going well with the free breakfast and lunch. We have had some grant changes that were identified in that, I think that day, so we are not exactly certain of the ramifications fully. We found out that GSRP third-party grants will be ending, affecting the number of aides that we have. There will be no layoffs. 22I transportation funding may change. We're, again, uncertain as how that will be affected. The general transportation factors is a factor of last year's transportation costs and factored in with this year's count week, which was the week of October 4th. That was count day. And we also found out that there's a FAFSA grant dollars that may be available if we have increased participation. The meeting ended at 2:55 and transitioned to operations. As I said, our next meeting will be October 30th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, what's an ETO?
It's in here, it's the electronic transfers officer.
That's what it's called.
To be able to, yep. So we can do electronic transfers. If there are no other questions, then I will move, please, or ask that you,
I make a motion that we
Thanks.
approve Jessica's
Support.
report as written
not communicating well.
and reported.
Okay, Chuck and Andrea?
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? The approval on the report for finance?
I think we have a motion for the ETO officer later. Is there a backup to that, Rod, in case something happens to Jamie because the banks need that, or do we not need to deal with that right now?
You don't have to legally name one, but most of our business office are all cross-trained on
Okay, that's fine.
submissions.
Just in case she's gone. Thank you.
All right, hearing none, could you do roll call, Sue? Thank you.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lanave.
Yes.
7 yes.
All right, thank you, Jessica. All right, let's move on to operations. Chuck?
Yes, we had the meeting right after finance. We started at 3:06 p.m. here at the Administration Building on October 2nd, 2023. Myself was present, along with the same people at the finance, Jamie Cohen, Miss Jessica, Superintendent Rod, Assistant Superintendent Jim. From the public was John Poposic. Dave Lurvy actually came to our meeting. He was the added person, along with some associates from his company, and RC, our building supervisor. First thing that we talked about was the Mary Crapo update. Dave Lurvy appeared with his associates and presented a written proposal for services for the Mary Crapo project, at least to get it started. This is including the board packets for review, discussion, and action taken later, hopefully this date. A lot of discussion, but I'm sure we'll have some when we make the motion. The concrete bid came in for the PAC High School and dumpster pads. This was presented by RC and Jamie. The bids were submitted. They did the bid review on these companies, and they agreed on one, which will be in your packet, and it's up for review and discussion and action later in this meeting. New truck purchase, RC and Jamie presented proposals for a new maintenance truck and potentially two with a plow. The packet is also including a review for discussion and board action. He wanted one, we discussed maybe two, depends on how the money looks. She said there was some money there that she found in one of her line items. Next agenda item was the 400 athletic wing and the 500 wing for the air handlers. The bids weren't submitted as of that date, no discussion at the Building and Finance. Rod expects to have the bids in, and I see it's in our packet for the October 11th meeting, discussion and board action. On that, public and board comments, John Poposic from the public commented about when the new baseball field is put in place, if it's going to have a different orientation or different views, and we told him pretty much it'd stay the same except for the new parking lots and grounds. And we adjourned at approximately 3:56 p.m. and our next meeting is on October 30th, 2023, starting at 2 at Finance and the fall afterwards, Building and Operations.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
Any questions for Chuck? All right. Moving on, we have several board discussion items, beginning with the student support presentation from Kelly Hale. Jim?
Yes, sorry, thank you. I get the fun stuff. Talk about instruction and support. And so on September 7th, we had an opportunity, and Travis has some slides to show you here. For the first time that I'm aware of in our district, we had our support come together. And by that I mean we now have a social worker in every building. We have a student success coordinator in every building, an instructional coach in every building. So Rod had a vision of bringing them all together and us talking about what are some consistent practices that we want to ensure that no matter which building you go into, these are happening. And so we had a session together where they would walk around, as you can see on the whiteboard, and put ideas of what was important. Our leadership team was our principals and APs.
And they decided no matter which building you go into, they're going to commit to clear, open, collaborative, two-way communication, coaching and inquiry cycles, and being a champion for the community. And then our attendance and home connections, this started off with our student success coordinators, and they committed to communication, talking to students and parents, providing family resources, using a restorative mindset. And socio-emotional learning was our social workers, where they started off, and they committed to connecting with families, trauma-informed care, skill building for groups and individuals. And then finally, our instructional coaches and our teacher consultants were with the academics and committed to modeling best practices, feedback, motivation, encouragement, and providing Tier 1 support with communication. It was a great session bringing everybody together. And with that, you know, Kelly Hale was there. And I'm going to ask her if she would just come up to the podium, please. And if you don't know Kelly, I've been in the district now 13 years. Kelly was a sub. She was like our preferred sub at Elms Road. When I went to the high school, I asked if she would come up with me. She is like an angel. And she really filled those shoes and did a wonderful job at the high school. She is our student success coordinator. She works a lot behind the scenes. She does powerful work, and a lot of times people don't know because she's not in the forefront. And so we brought Kelly to Academic Achievement, and she had an opportunity to share what a day in her life looks like at the high school. And Carrie asked if we could bring her to the board and bring this to the board. And I thought that's a great idea because we love to highlight someone who is so passionate about the work that she does here in Creek. And so with that, Kelly is just going to share with us like what she does at the high school and what a day looks like in her life, and then open it up if you have any questions for her. Kelly?
Okay, so I did this off the cuff last time, so I said I'm just going to do it the same way again. And basically, it is my day. I come into the office, check my emails, go through all the notes I get from parents overnight and phone calls I get from parents from the night before, and then I start checking in with students. So you'll see me 5 minutes before the bell rings for kids to get to class, and that 5 minutes after class starts, I'm out in the hallway checking in with kids. So I'm checking in with them saying, hey, how's your day going? What's going on? What's happening? And then after class starts, I go back to my office, and then I'm sending out passes for kids who need extra help. So I'm sending out 6 to 8 passes every hour for students who need extra help with something. And it may be grades, it may be attendance, it may be struggling socially. It can be lots of things. So then I'm bringing kids in and out of my office all hour, and then the rest of the time is spent calling parents and updating them and saying, hey, this is going on, I'm talking to your student. Is there anything we can do to support you and help you out? So my day is very busy with students and talking to parents. It's crazy some days. But it's good because what we're about is supporting students and helping them be successful. And they need a connection to be successful. And so just checking in with them is what's important. And then they need more than that sometimes. This week, I have a student that I'm working with, really nice young man who is struggling terribly with school. School is just tough. It's tough getting here. There's a lot of things going on in his life. And so we worked on some things for the last few weeks. We finally got him so he's getting up every morning. So we've got a great, start on that. So now he's getting up because he wasn't only coming to school for the last 3 hours of every day. So now we're coming every day. And then he kind of went backwards last week. And then this week, if he doesn't show up, I email him and say, hey, missed you today. Are you coming in a little bit? And I email also the parents. Whenever I email a student, the students know too, because I don't CC it. I put right in there so they know I got their parent too on it, so there's no secrets behind there. So the mom was in on the email too. So I emailed the student and said, hey, miss you today. Are you coming in? Is there anything I can do to help you out? And the parent answered me immediately. And this was a hard one because she put quotation marks, the letter Y, quotation marks. That was her whole email. And my heart sunk. It's like, okay. So I didn't answer her right away. I took some time. I had other students to check in with her. There was other things going on. And I answered her about 2 hours later and wrote an email back to her. And I said, your student is important. He can be successful. But I want him to be here because I can't help him if he's not here. So that's the kinds of things I do every day. I had a parent this week, and we've talked every 2 or 3 days, that has a student that's really, really struggling, doesn't like school, it's not fun for her, and there's a lot of things going on. So parent says, what can I do? I don't have any supports. We've already done a bunch of supports for her, and nothing seems to be working. And so we're setting up a meeting for next week with her daughter, and seeing what we can do to get some extra supports in for her and what we can do. So we'll see next week how it goes and what happens. I wish I could say successful for every kid we talk to. We aren't. I wish I was. Next week we have a meeting for a student that isn't probably going to come back. She's only been here 3 days a week, 3 days all school year. She doesn't want to be here. She's fighting it tooth and nail. She's fighting her parents tooth and nail on it. She's probably not going to make it back. I wish she was. She's very capable, but she's really struggling. So we can't meet all of their needs, but we try to meet as many as we can. So it's a busy day. I enjoy what I do because I'm hopefully making a difference in kids' lives. That's what it's about. It's about them and helping them be successful. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Kelly? that
I
you
have
might
one. So at what point would a student, how do they get to you? Is that a teacher recommendation?
There's several ways they get to me. Teacher recommendation, students will just come out and talk to me. Say, hey, I'm struggling, I need this. I have students that drop by before school starts all during the day. I have students that email me.
How would they know you were available? Like, how would?
Because they see me in the building, they see
Okay.
me working with other students and things, so they know that. So it's parents, the biggest part is through, because I also do attendance, part of my day is doing the attendance, I do all the attendance letters, send those home, undo all of those, and the tardies, I do all of that stuff too. Part of it is if their attendance, if they miss 5 days, they're on my radar and I check in with them real quick. When they're on 10 days absent, they have to check in with me every week. So, and if they're failing 3 classes, they're automatically on my list. If they're passing 3 classes or more, they're checking in with me at least 2 times a week.
At what
So-
point in time do you include the parent? Like you said, at what point did you loop the parent into an attendance issue?
For sure at 10 days, it depends on sometimes the student. I will talk to a student and say, hey, what's going on? Can I call your mom or dad and talk to them as well? And I always ask them that before I call, and I tell them also that I'm going to call at 10 days. And
They don't get a choice at day 10.
at 10 days, they don't have a
Okay.
choice. I'm calling them at 10 days.
You can call me at day 1. I mean, you don't need my kid's permission to call me.
Yeah, and I'm calling it at 3. If they have 3 failing grades, and we've talked, and those grades aren't up within 2 weeks, I'm also calling parents. I tell the kids, I said, you've got 2 weeks. We're going to work, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we plan it together. I'm not just telling them what to do. The kids and I work together on that. And then if they're not up in 2 weeks, I'm calling the parent to say, hey, we've been working on this. It's not, they're not up yet. Just wanted you to be aware of it.
Kelly is working out of what we call the hub in the high school. So it's the old counseling office. When we built the new office, the counselors moved in there. So the old counseling office is the hub. And inside the hub, we have 2 student success coordinators. Kelly is obviously one of them. We have 2 social workers. We have our TC, our teacher consultant, in there. We have our instructional coach in there, and we, on occasion, have our speech and language and ELL services in there, as well as a wellness room area inside the hub. So there are a lot of resources, and high school gets a bad rap for never, fully implementing MTSS, but I would say that the hub there with Kelly and all of her peers doing all of that work, it's a pretty shiny, bright star of the high school, because as she said, they may have a social emotional issue, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go to the social worker. They may go to Kelly. They may go to the TC. They may go to anyone who's in there. And so we have a myriad of adults who are handling trauma, as we've talked about, on a consistent basis. So it's a pretty neat resource that we have going on up there.
So Kelly, you mentioned that one of the reactions you got from the parent was that she doesn't have any support.
The parents are struggling for support.
So what is the reaction like when you reach out to those parents? I'm sure that it's disappointment, but what is the reaction having someone from the school who cares enough to care about their child?
Most of the parents are very positive. They say thank you, just thank you, because I'm the first person they've talked to. They'll say, I had no idea. And I think they miss it sometimes. Parents don't check Power Parent Portal like we'd like them to. We would hope that they would check that, but they don't as much as we would like them to. And there's probably a dozen reasons for that. But most of the parents are very, very positive. I mean, even the parent that said why she's just frustrated. She doesn't know, she's at the end. Parents don't have the supports we used to have. I thought about that. We've talked about that with other people. I had neighbors. If my kids missed the bus, my neighbor could take them. No doubt, and either one neighbors would say, hey, anytime you need anything. They had grandparents that supported, that weren't even close by. They were an hour away or so, but they were still supportive. I'm talking to a lot of parents who don't have supports. They're single parents. They don't have grandparents, their parents around. They don't have neighbors that are supportive. They're alone. So we have a lot of parents that don't have supports that they need, and that trickles down to the kids.
I'm sure they appreciate having someone who will at least listen to them and acknowledge that there's a challenge.
It's been good. Once in a while I get a bad reaction, but most of the time all the reactions I get from the parents are good. It's been very positive.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, I have
Go
several.
ahead.
Oh, sorry, Chuck.
No, go ahead, Holly. Go ahead.
So, and with it being sensitive nature stuff, I don't know, but is there like peer student support too, that like potentially they get to talk to people that are like, I've been in your shoes, I've struggled, like that would be coming from a fellow student perspective instead of from an adult perspective? I don't know if that's even an option with the, sensitive nature of some things. I just didn't know. Sometimes just knowing that there's an equal that has done it, oh my gosh, I could get through it too, or whatever.
We're working on that. We have 3 students that do in peer tutoring.
Okay.
During lunches, the kids can come down and work with them and talk to them. And then we have a peer-to-peer group, but the peer-to-peer group is kind of tied up right now. They're mostly doing with our special needs kids. They're
Okay.
not doing for general population. And we talked about that. I talked with him last week, the person who's in charge of that, saying, how can we reach out and make this go farther? And so he was looking at his numbers to see where his kids had some room, or if he needed to get more peers, or what we needed to do for that.
Okay.
So it's-
Thank you.
Yes.
I have a question too. Can a student just if a student just walks in and says, I need somebody to talk to, they might be sent to you, or would they be referred to their counselor?
They go either place. It depends on the student where they want to go. Some students have relationships with their counselors, so they go down to the counselors. Some students just come down and talk to me. Some students talk to, it's whoever they want to. Usually when they come down, we'll say, hey, do you want to talk? We just need to take a break and just relax for a minute and let things calm down. The student this morning, she came in, she'd had a physical fight with her mom this morning before school. It was huge. There was a lot of things went on this morning before she got to school. She came in and she was just so distraught that I said, she says, I can't go to class, I can't do anything. So we had her sit in the wellness room. I said, check in, go sit in the wellness room, 10 minutes, then you let me know if you want to come talk to me, you want to talk to a social worker, who you want to talk to, and then we'll go from there. So that's what she did. She went in there, and then she ended up coming out and talked to me. And she said, I need 10 more minutes, then I can go to class. And so then I gave her 10 more minutes, and she ended up going to class, and she had a fine day. She just needed some time just to unwrap everything that happened that morning and get herself back together. So they can do that anytime. All they have to do is come into the hub. We have a Chromebook that sits there on the desk. They sign in, and they can put in there who they want to see. If there's somebody specifically they want to see. If there's not somebody specific we want to see, we just check in with them and say, hey, do you want to talk to me, or do you want to talk to Mr. Page or Mrs. Edwards? And what do we go from there.
Yeah, that, in fact, I didn't know it was my turn. That was one of my questions, is how many people are interviewed by your staff or, the different counselors? So you kind of answered that. They can talk to whoever they want once they
Correct.
do the laptop, which I did not do all that. But how many kids do you think do different counselors and you? I mean, you're working with a kid and he's like, okay, I'm going to go over to the counselor now. Or you might refer him to the counselor.
We do that, yeah. How many kids do I?
Yeah, how
refer?
many kids do you see, you think, on a weekly basis that see other people in the hub?
Wow.
If you have that number, does anybody keep track of that number?
I have a number I have a spreadsheet on
Yeah.
my computer for the number of kids that I see.
How many kids do you see?
And I see in a week, I see over 100 kids.
We have what, about 1,100 kids in our high school?
Yes, something like that, yeah.
Right.
So I see.
So you're seeing 10% of the kids? That's
Yeah.
just you? That
That's
doesn't
just
include
me.
the counselors?
And some of those are seeing counselors and some of those are seeing other people
Right.
as well. And there's other people that see them that don't see me.
Okay, so that answers my first question, number of kids across training. And the parents, when are we required by law to notify them if they miss several days of school?
At 5 days, we send a 5-day letter home.
Right.
And if that student, so they get a letter, they're all going to be notified at 5 days.
Parents and, yeah, parents also,
Yes.
okay.
So I don't call at 5 days unless they're failing classes or something else is happening. I don't make, so they get at least, they get the letter for sure. 5 days, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. There's too many. This week, there was 52, I think, 5-day letters I sent home for students. I can't make 52 phone calls. It would never happen. There's not enough time in a day.
So if you had 50, was that total, or was that for the other counselor that works in part with you?
No, this is just, that's separate, that's 5-day letters. That's a
Okay.
separate
That's
number.
just, that's all the kids, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
all the kids have 5 days absences that are not medical, not anything of that nature, that are just excused or unexcused general absences.
Do you have any downtime during the day, or you stay busy all day?
I stay busy all day long. There's no downtime.
What about your cohort? Same thing?
Yeah, same thing. Basically, it's a busy day.
Okay, thank
We
you. That
had-
was my 3 questions.
We had a meeting today, once a month, the student success coordinators, we have a meet together for an hour. We met today from 9:30 to 10:30 at the middle school. Next month, we're meeting at the high school. So we just meet just to chat and see how things are going at each building and gain information from each other and just check in. And that was one of the things they said, we all have more work than the hours.
I guess my follow-up is, and you said you may be able to obtain that number of children, kids, teenagers there, that are seeing more than 2 people in your hub. I guess that's what I wanted to know, Rod.
Yeah, I
don't
wouldn't
know
know
if
the
you keep
number
track
that are
of that.
seeing more than, that are
They
seeing
can't?
2 of us.
No, not you, but everybody that's included in the hub. Because you
Yeah.
said some could see a counselor, some could see some other support group, they could go to peer groups with the kids, or to you.
Correct. We have on the hub, on that Chromebook, it has all the kids, and that's,
Okay,
we have
so
a
that-
log of all the kids that come into the hub for the
Whatever
social,
reason.
or the emotional needs.
Yeah.
Not for the kids the kids I send passes for or check in with aren't on that list, because they're mine, they're not the hub kids that just come in. But those kids that just drop in, that need an extra time, extra help, those kids are all tracked, and it's
Oh,
all
okay, that's good.
taken care
I guess
of.
I wanted to know that.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Kelly, thank you so much for being here, and we appreciated you coming into academic achievement. You did a great job again tonight. And Jim, thank you so much for bringing
My
Kelly in.
privilege. And just to reiterate, we have a student success coordinator in every building.
Yes.
So you can imagine the powerhouse team that was there on the 7th on that day. I can remember Rod and I, when we were elementary principals, Rod would talk then about, we need social workers in every building, we need instructional coaches. And now to see that actually in action is a big win. We have strong support. We believe in strong support. And people like Kelly Hill are doing a wonderful job to make sure our students get what they need. Thank you, Kelly, for all
Thank
you do.
We appreciate
I
it
have one more
very much.
question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Kim.
Those 5 days, are those consecutive days?
No.
Oh, it can just be
Yep,
spread out
5 days,
over-
spread out.
okay.
And 5 days is just letting parents know, hey, you have 5 absences.
Okay.
And then it's usually when the 10 and 15 when we start worrying about things more.
Okay, thanks.
Jessica has a question too.
I just, well, it's actually more comment because I was at Academic Achievement when you were there, and I really appreciate all the time that you took then and today and with our students. Really, one of the things that I'm really excited about is the being solution-focused and the investment in building those relationships and talking about and really trying to work out, not just for our students, but their families, of really going the extra mile to try to connect them to the resources to need to help them be successful in and out of our buildings, and I really appreciate that. I know it can be very taxing, and I really appreciate the energy that you bring to it, because you can just tell, and we're very fortunate. Thank you very,
Thank you.
very much.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks, Jessica. All right, great presentation, Kelly. All right, moving on, we have our book study part 1 of Success Mindsets.
Yes, very excited to dig into this. This is now the third group that we have facilitated with some dialogue around success mindsets. Of course, just as a reminder, part 1 is consisting of 4 chapters. Is your thinking the best way to think? Mindsets, the drivers of our thinking, learning, and behavior. The power of mindsets to unlock greater success in discovering your current mindset. And so our central office staff started off a couple of weeks ago giving a presentation and dialogue about this topic. And then our principals last week gave some feedback on this. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts. In fact, Jim and I were just at Rotary, and Dr. Tunnicliffe, the GISD superintendent, was Googling our book. He says, who are you doing this? What groups? And he pulled it up. He said, is this the book? Yep, that's the book. So I thought maybe I'd just kind of throw it out there if you had any ahas or any quotes or any things that struck your fancy, positively or negatively.
I'll start if anybody wants to jump in. This really spoke to me in a way that I didn't expect it to. You know, you'll wonder if it's going to be another leadership book or, you know, how you can grow and develop, and it was just that. And I was struck by, and it's on page 18 and 19, where they talk about failure, and this hits home for me personally. I have had 3 really great mentors in my life, and the third one, well, the second one is the one who taught me to not borrow trouble. And Jack and anybody who was at the meeting the other day will understand that comment. But the third one, I interviewed him to be a chief medical officer at our health plan, and he is now the CEO of the health plan. But I asked him, what's your tolerance for failure? And because I knew I was going to be working with him, and, you know, you don't always get it right. And he immediately said, fail fast and move on. And you can't be successful or innovative if you can't take the risk to fail. And so I knew right then that he was the guy. But it really did speak to me, and I don't know if anybody else has had those types of moments in your life, and it really increased my tolerance. I already had a tolerance to take risks and fail, although that's not your initial goal, but to know that that's a part of it, possibly. And it just opened my eyes to being more innovative and to allow teams to take risks that eventually became more successful. So, anybody else?
I'll go. So first of all, I'd just like to state that when I started to read this book hurts my feelings because I thought I was doing a good job, and I'm not. So I don't know how much you want. I have 3. So on page 4 spoke to me where it says the unfortunate reality is that the majority of employees are not managed in the way that, sorry, I'm also getting over a cold, but bring out their best. This isn't because leaders aren't trying to do a good job, and it isn't because leaders are purposely being jerks to those whom they lead. It's because of the way which they see and think about and process their world directs them to behave in the manner that they seem, which is actually subpar. That speaks to me volumes because that's how I feel about my employers.
teachers. And so that part spoke to me just in general about, okay, maybe, it's not their fault that they're that way. So maybe they need the book too. But
Well, and nobody,
I may suggest it.
nobody's a failure when you look at this. I just want you to know that we actually put the assessment up for everyone at central office.
Oh, well, glad I wasn't part of that.
And it was amazing, because you would think, oh, all these I mean, we did have some pretty strong growth mindset scores. Like I was as high as I could be on growth.
Oh, of
But there were
course.
other ones that we were in the lower quadrants. Both Jim and I had a bottom quadrant, as I think everyone in the room did.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have 2 bottoms and 2 tops, which I guess makes me equal, but like, it definitely, when taking the test, it spoke to exactly who I am right now. Like, I mean, that spoke volumes. Not trying to anyway, so also page 12, I'm person A, where it talks about person A when they're trying to do their best, so that speaks to what you just said, so I won't read that one. But then the last part that, from section 1, that I liked was on page 34, where it says, the greatest discovery in life is self-discovery. Until you find yourself, you'll always be somebody else. Become yourself. And I've been working on that internally myself with other things. And so the book really is, even though it's not making me feel good yet, it's trying. So I really do think it's a good book, and I do think it would be good for my employer as well. But no, I mean, it definitely really asks you to assess yourself. So that's what I've appreciated so far. And now that I've taken the test, it's not lying, but I know what I need to work on. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Anybody else?
I just have an observation also on page 4. I found this 65% of employees would prefer to have a different manager compared to more pay. I mean, to me, that really speaks to people's personality. And then, I mean, on page 15, and I'm kind of learning this myself right now, what exists at the level of the problem is repetitive thinking that gets nowhere, old conditioning that keeps applying to yesterday's outworn choices. And I think we all tend to do that until maybe one day we realize this isn't working, I need to do something else. And so there's several parts here that have caught my attention, but those are 2 of the things.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in and just say the part that really spoke to me was on page 24. And I want to thank Jim. I don't know if I've ever given you this many kudos in one meeting, but write this down. But in his presentation, he talked about the importance of the 2 graphs, and he had it up. It was nice and pretty on the screen. But if you look at the top graph, it talks about how most of us try to pull our leadership, our thinking, and behavior forward to an improved future state. So we're pulling and pulling and pulling, but those aren't the things that we should be pulling, and we never get to the future state that we want. And if you look at that paragraph, it says this approach below involves focusing on and pushing forward our mindsets. As our mindsets improve, naturally then our thinking, learning, and behavior, thus our success. So at the bottom graph, you can see push the mindset forward, then the thinking, the behavior, and the success follows. And Jim brought that up, and I think that was a great moment for all of us at central office when we kind of discussed that. Stop pulling on the thinking and the behaviors and start challenging your mindsets. So that was what spoke to me.
Thanks, Rod. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say, from page 8, there's the question, it says, I underlined this part, but I'll go a little farther. Who wants to look bad, be wrong, have problems, and do something that isn't best for themselves? He is unable to see the implications and unintended negative consequence of his ego protection. And I really firmly believe that part of human nature is for us to try to be safe and secure, right? And so that's where that ego protection comes. And I said something to my husband yesterday in the car that I'm like, I know lately I've had a really tough time apologizing, and I really am sorry, but And then the voice in my head said, and really mean it. Like, and I do, you know what, I want to do this self-justification, right? Because, again, who am I? When I feel insecure, who am I? I don't want to own up to X, Y, or Z because I find that it makes me vulnerable. When really, when I can acknowledge it and have that honesty about who I am or what my motives are or what my fears and insecurities are, that is actually what gives me strength. And whether it's an individual or a group, an organization, I firmly believe that when we can do that without staying stuck in it, I had a friend a long time ago, then it's easier to move forward, right? Our thoughts become our words, and our words become our actions, all right? So what is it that I'm thinking? What is it that I'm speaking? Then what is it that I'm doing? And, but that my brain will tell me these things. I think we stay in these ruts because my brain's just trying to protect me and it's what it knows. Doesn't mean it's good. I will lie to myself sometimes, you know, like, no, this is good for me. No, it's probably not a good idea to eat peanut butter and chocolate chips for dinner, but sometimes I think it's a really good idea and I want to. But then I pay a consequence about it emotionally or physically, blah, 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 right? But you know what? It happens, and hopefully we can have grace with ourselves and others to move from where we're at.
I missed the peanut butter and chocolate chip section, so if you have that page.
I do want to say something Jessica just said, like that it 100% already made me take away to have grace with others. Like, because, like I said, I'm the mindset that thinks it's my way or the highway. So, like, that's what I'm working on right now, even, not just a mindset, but just remember that not everyone is me. So.
And we're happy for that, Holly. We're glad that you are a unique individual that has chosen to join our board. We appreciate you. All right, anybody else? So let me ask you fine gentlemen who are well-educated in these areas, how are we presenting this information to the various folks that are reading it or participating in it? What's the reaction that you're getting if you've started the book study with all of those groups? And how do you apply it to the process of educating students?
So first off, I tease Rod because he has all of us doing it except teachers and support staff, but we're doing this in central office with the team. We're doing it obviously here with the board and then our principals. Mindset is so important, you know, as we talk about it with the even deficit thinking. I mean, so if we get people to understand and recognize that the way to find success is to move that bottom foundation, move the mindset, it's going to impact everyone who's, you know, and so very, very excited for the reflection because we're hearing very similar reflections in our group of people first off starting beating themselves up over it and then saying, no, this is an opportunity to grow, myself you know, included. And so once we understand individually that we can control our mindsets, we can really do anything. And so the ahas for me are what's been pretty powerful so far. And again, we're coming up on chapter 2, so this is just our initial phase. But
I would just like to add that, like, bringing it into the workday, I think one of the things that we've done over the years with, like, culture of learning and growth mindset, because Carol Dweck wrote on mindset, and that's some of the research that's being pulled in this book. And we incorporated some of those questions into our interview process, and so I know that you guys have been pretty thrilled with our teacher hires over the last 5 to 10 years, and we asked those questions. So we'll talk about a time that you failed and what did you learn. And so what you're really doing is you're looking at that, is it a growth mindset answer or is it a fixed mindset? Because if they're taking it as a learning opportunity and they talk about how they reflected and how they move forward and what they would do different, then you can realize that, oh, this person is really approaching life with growth. And then furthermore, to take that down one more level is then to talk about what kind of risks do you provide in the classroom? Because this is all great that we're all learning as adults, But if it doesn't ever get down to the classroom, then we miss the point, right? And that's my mantra that I say at every MTSS meeting that is ever held is, it's great to have these conversations, but this has to go to the classroom level. And so you're looking for teachers and educators who are willing to put out activities and conversations that create risk so that people can be, like Jessica said, vulnerable, but also so that they can fail. Because ironically, you don't actually learn when you don't fail. And so if I don't ever fail at any subject and I'm just motoring along for 12 years, I probably didn't learn a lot. So you have to be pushed into that failure zone, and we want to hire people who are willing to do that and provide a safe atmosphere so that kids can do it safely, be pushed, fail, and then learn from their experiences. So I think this is a huge tie-in just to teaching in general.
Thank you, and thanks for bringing it to them and to us. And I look forward to the continuing discussion. I don't want to assume, but at our next meeting, we'll be talking part two?
Yep.
All right, so if everybody can take a look at that, or I've actually been listening to it too in the car and reading it. So it's actually very interesting. And I don't know if anybody's had the audio version, but sometimes audiobooks are a little annoying. I mean, just the voice. This author reads the book and his voice is very nice. So if anybody needs that. But thanks for taking the time to do this, Rod and Jim, and for fellow board members for taking the time to look at it and kind of look within ourselves. And I look forward to how we can apply it to our board operations and performance as well. So
Yeah, I'm thankful that you actually asked for our feedback as well, because it's one thing to read it and want to implement it, and it's another thing to want to grow together with it. So I'm thankful that you guys ask, about it.
thank you, Holly. Maybe you can figure out a way to share it with your leaders. When I'm done with my book, you're welcome to take it. Thank you, and thanks, Rod. So we'll have that on our next month's agenda, correct? All right, thanks, everyone. Okay, moving on, we do have the board action items. We're beginning with the approval of SCEA employment.
Yes, I would like to invite Sean Kovach up to the mic where she can do some introductions of our sole SCEA employment tonight.
Good evening, everyone. It feels a little strange just to be the only one introducing a new employee. I am excited to bring to you Kathleen Diebold. She goes by Katie. Kathleen has 8 years of experience as a speech pathologist in our educational setting. Now, 2 years was spent in Pennsylvania, so these 6 have been in Michigan. She has worked with a variety of ages, from the little 3-year-olds all the way through high school. The focus has been primarily with the 3-year-olds all the way through middle school, though. We would like to bring her aboard as our speech and language path. She would be housed at Gaines, working with our students there. She would also work with those that are in Head Start. She would also work with our littles, specifically our walk-ins and our little dragon population, as well as helping with some of the overages we have at our lower elementary level. So with that said, here is Katie.
Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you all. Did you want me to say Oh, okay. A few words myself. So yes, like she said, this is starting my 9th year. I've been married for 7 years. I have a daughter who's 3, Sylvia. She's the light of my life. I primarily have worked with preschool through 5th grade, and I enjoy the littles. They are exciting. They're full of energy. You never know what you're going to get, and it's a lot of play-based therapy, which is super fun, but also wonderful learning opportunities for language and expanding their vocabulary. And I'm very excited to join Swartz Creek because family is so near and dear to my heart. And I said in my interview, one of the core values you see right on your website talks about family. And I'm just really excited to be on board. Thank you.
You answered the question that I always ask our candidates is what brings you to Swartz Creek, and thank you for answering that.
Most definitely.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
all. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
You can stay right there, because
Oh,
we're gonna ask you to come up
Okay.
here, I hope.
Oh, okay.
So with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support. Jessica can have.
Okay, was that Jack and Jessica?
No,
Chuck and
Chuck and Jessica, okay. Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves SCEA employment of Kathleen Katie Diebold, speech and language pathologist for Swartz Creek Community Schools as presented. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Can I shake your hands? Okay.
Katie, we will excuse you if you'd like to leave, but you can stay for the rest of the meeting. We won't take offense. Thank you for being here. Thanks, Sean. Okay, now we have approval of the policy update and adoption of 5707.
So we talked about 5707 a couple of times, and as Jack said earlier, the addition in here is at the end of the policy, which is the elimination of lunch shaming. Not something that we have a problem with in Swartz Creek, but it does need to comply with the law, hence Truan's addition to this section for your approval tonight.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack? And Andrea? Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the Troon policy update of 5707 as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Andrea Fick.
Yep. Sorry, yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. And as we discussed in policy, this will be added to the communications to the staff as our updates. Okay, moving on to the approval of the District Electronic or Transactions Officer, or ETO.
Yes, as Jessica stated in the Finance Committee report, this is just to comply with our policy so that our business officer is officially designated the ETO.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack?
Support.
Holly? Any comments or questions? Hearing none, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the Executive Director of Business and Finance as the district's electronic transactions officer per Board Policy 3213 as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you very much. Motion passes. All right, moving on, we have the approval of our concrete repair projects.
Yes, as discussed in facilities multiple times, and as Chuck talked about the bids that had already come in before our last meeting, this is the lowest bid, and it includes all the alternates, number 1 and number 2. So you can see here that DRV has the base bid plus alternate 2, which is actually a deduct alternate, coming in at $159,500 for your approval.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack?
Support.
Jessica? Any comments or questions? Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves DRV contractors for the concrete project with project costs, including alternates 1 and 2, with a total project cost not to exceed $159,000 to be funded by the 2018 bond fund as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Moving on, we have the approval of the Mary Crapo Ball Field pre-construction contracts.
So as Chuck said, we had Dave Lurvy in describing where they are in the process to get the Mary Crapo Ball Field project underway. And so what you have in front of you is a list of multiple services that need to be rendered in order to get the project off the ground. And so this is kind of a combo pack. You got $12,500 to Lurvy Construction as the construction manager. You got $12,500 to Gazelle, who is the architect, and then you got $65,000, which is Foresight, which is the specialty athletic architect, and to Meridian Civil Engineering, $27,500, for a total of $117,500 for pre-construction work for your approval.
Thank you, Rod. Any questions to Rod before we accept a motion? All right, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Andrea? You have support?
Support.
Chuck?
Yes.
All right. Be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the vendors Lurvy Construction, Gazelle and Foresight Architect, and Meridian Engineering for the Mary Crapo Ball Field project with project costs, with a total project cost not to exceed $117,500 to be funded by the Public Improvement Fund as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Carrie Germain.
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenave,
Yes.
Jack Sayer.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. And thanks, Chuck, for your support on that. Okay,
Carrie.
moving on, we have approval of truck purchase.
So as Chuck talked about, Jamie and RC brought the schedule of truck replacements. You may have seen it when we've looked at the bus replacement schedule. It's on the same spreadsheet. And basically what they were asking for was kind of a top-end number because inventory seems to be flying off the lots. And so originally they were asking for one top-end number so that if that inventory was available, they could move on it. And then it was pointed out in the meeting that actually if you look at the replacement schedule, this year we should actually go for two. So that's what this particular proposal talks about, is up to $90,000, and that would be up to two trucks with the plows for our winter season if those particular trucks are still available as inventory for your approval.
Did that, I don't want to, the price of the trucks were $90,000, but that didn't include the plow. It's a plow package, but I don't think that included the $10,000 for the plows and the salters. But I'm not sure,
ask the
Rob.
same
You might
thing.
want
Does
to
this include-
just take a look at that. Is that included in there? For the total price, so we have a price.
The way we have it written is two plow trucks up to the cost of $90,000.
Okay. We can do that and deal with the plows later. It can come out of some other fund, and maybe we can
Or is this, I mean,
refurbish the plow, or we can just not set up a plow until we get the money for it.
but this is worded like he said, including a plow. I haven't shopped for a truck in a minute, but I shopped for a new Jeep recently.
Oh, right.
And they're
these are-
basic trucks, right? With like not bells and whistles, I would presume.
Oh, yeah, these are phenomenal prices, but that's because they're on the My Deal cooperative bid. They're already
Okay.
bid out.
But do they include the plow
I think
At
it's
this
plow
price?
package is
I
what.
think it's a
that
plow
means.
package.
Yeah, just so you're not.
for this
confused.
price?
Yes.
Because then I'm okay with that price.
That's why I'm on the discussion part. Yep, I think that's
So-
what it means. It doesn't
so-
include the plow.
Right, so if you go 40,000 each, you would be at 80,000, just under 80,200. So,
Snow plow, it's in here as
so
an
you would have
option.
options.
Snow plow, VYU, snow plow
Does that make sense?
package.
And again, it was originally brought to the committee for one, so if you want to have a different number there, 1 versus 2, or you want it a different cap number, that's fine as well. This was just the way it was presented, if you have different ideas.
Yeah, I know, it's not the plow, it's just, that's why I just said that, because I know.
How much does a plow generally cost?
$10,000. Roughly.
I mean, I don't know, but that probably doesn't sound wrong.
The people driving these, by the way, do have CDLs, right? Just to confirm.
I don't think it includes the plow.
I don't think that's.
We had this extensive discussion, did not include the plow.
Okay. The hook.
Yeah, it's a plow package. It has to come with a certain amount of things to put the plow on it.
These are our current plowers already.
What we did is, just insight, discussion on the
'Cause they
motion.
need it.
Is that okay, Carrie?
I assume if they need it, they have it.
Okay.
Like, I'll
Double check.
double
He
check.
wanted one truck and a plow, which was gonna be $50,000. He said there was a couple trucks on the lot. If we buy 2 trucks now, it'll save us $10,000 per truck, because the 2024s are coming out, if he can even get these. And nobody says we have to put plows on both of them right away, but we will outfit one of them right away with a plow, because the other equipment's 13 years old. And then maybe next year, we got the truck now here, we'll put the plow on next year as the budget allows. But it's up to you guys, so he says that one truck's 14 years old and the other one's 15, which is too old to be plowing snow with, and they're kind of, yeah, is it 17, I'm sorry?
17 and 15 years old.
Okay, yeah. So with that being said, I don't know what you guys want to do, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have to do it, because both those trucks may not be available once we tell him to go ahead, and he goes back to try to purchase them, Thursday or Friday or next Monday, I don't know.
Seems like a pretty good deal on these trucks.
I might go buy
Right
one,
now.
if I can get one for 40 grand, a brand new.
So,
If I may, from the comments from the finance or in the operations meeting,
Yeah.
they're a 2007 and a 2008 salt truck. The pre-approval, we thought was a 41,000, so it's just shy. And a 2024, I think, was gonna be, over 45,000.
50, I think is
I
what
have
it was.
45,700 on here, and then we expect a plow package, or the plow itself to be roughly $9,200. But again, my thought is with that, if we get the 2, because as you said, RC initially thought he would only ask for 1 and then hold off for next year, that at least that we do 1 plow, and as Chuck just said, we don't necessarily have to do both plows right away, or I guess based on needs, so.
right, so to clarify, where you read, because someone mentioned this, where it says 2 equipped plow trucks, that means 2 plow trucks who have packaging on it. It doesn't mean the plows.
That's what I'm trying to clarify, if it means.
So this would be
plow.
for approval of going to get 2 trucks that would be plow trucks that would have the plowing towing package on it. The plow itself would be separate, and if the plow's $10,000, that's a micro purchase that could be made at any time anyway.
But we don't have to outfit them both. We can just maybe leave one in the barn for a couple months and then deal with it.
What if we need the plow trucks to get our schools open, then we need the plow trucks? We need to plow, we need to plow.
We need the truck, we need the truck.
so with that, I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Jack?
Support.
Chuck? Comments or questions? All right, hearing none, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves the purchase and up to,
Yep,
I think it's up to,
up to.
equipped plow trucks through the My Deal Cooperative Bid Consortium with a total projected cost of $90,000 to be funded by general fund as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis,
Yes.
Andrea Fick,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey.
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenee.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, motion passes. And thanks, RC, for stewarding our money well and doing all this work. Appreciate that, always. Finally, we have the approval of the 400 and 500 high school hallway bid.
Yeah, so this is the long-awaited athletic wing, which is the 400 wing. And so this bed was packaged together with the 500 wing, which had an old HVA system that no longer hooks into the air, and so that also needed to be removed. So this base bid is basically the 403 or 404 classrooms, which are being turned into the athletic office area, which includes a lobby, reception area, conference room, and training room. The training room will have water because one of those rooms is already fitted with water, table, ice machine, etc. This also will create a secure vestibule so that those that are doing business in the 400 wing can walk into the 400 wing and straight into the athletic space without gaining access into the school. It creates a rooftop unit for HVAC for heating and cooling in the 400 hallway, and it also does the entire hallway with LED lighting, flooring, and ceiling tiles, as well as ceiling tiles in the new office spaces. On the 500 hallway also is getting a new HVAC unit, which will have modifications as we try to hook it up into the existing system, which wasn't able to happen during the bond because of the age of the previous unit. And so when you're looking at this bid, just want to point out that that is the base bid. There were 3 alternates. You had alternates to redo the wrestling room, which came in from anywhere from 30 to 200,000. The IT room, which came in anywhere from 25 to 150,000, and some of the classrooms in that wing, which again came in all over the place between 15 and 60,000. We at this time think that those projects may be handled one-offs in the future, but that this base project would handle basically what we're trying to accomplish with the athletic wing, but also leaving the capacity to hook in to those units in the future if we wanted to complete the rest of those projects. So in front of you is the base bid for the 400 and 500 hallway for your approval.
Thanks, Rod. I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Jack and Andrea, any comments or questions? Hearing none, be it resolved that the Swartz Creek Community Schools Board of Education approves E&L Construction Group for the 400 and 500 wing project with project costs, including base bid only, with a total project cost at $977,480, to be funded by the remainder of the 2018 bond fund and sinking funds as presented. Sue, can you do roll call, please?
Carrie Germain,
Yes.
Jack Sayer,
Yes.
Chuck Melkey,
Yes.
Holly Jarvis.
Yes.
Andrea Fick.
Yes.
Kim Winter,
Yes.
Jessica Lenee.
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you, motion passes. And I think we added H on our agenda. Chuck had asked that we discuss an athletic van.
Yes, I forgot. See, that's for short memory. Again, I'm sorry. We talked about it at finance and at operations. There was some missing of students that couldn't make it to some of the athletic events because of the buses not being able to take them and shuttle them because they were coming in late or going early. So it's just an idea that if we can find the money, that we buy an athletic van, a 15-passenger van, and obviously the coaches would drive it only if they're all properly approved with their driver's licenses for those occasions that we do need it. And I kind of wanted to get board feeling on it, so if you approved it now, we could just go ahead and approve it at the operations and finance, once we talk to Jamie and RC about what kind of prices they could get us, and not to exceed a certain amount of money. And it's my fault. I was gonna call today and see what vans cost for a 15-passenger van, and, you know, put a number attached to it.
I have a
Would we,
question.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Would we have to provide the training if they don't have the correct license? Because
No, that's
they'd
why-
have to-
that's
they'd
why
have to
it's
get
a-
a chauffeur license.
I think if it's under 15 or 13, that's what I didn't call and check on today.
Okay.
And we're gonna go to that maximum size, so a normal driver's license coach could take the kids if needed, because there was some problem with transportation for some of the children. And I'll let Jessica chime in on it, because
Because I was the
it
one that mentioned it.
It was her concern, and I'm just trying to fix the concern.
Right, and I very much appreciate that, and I just had the thought of maybe we as Coach T to look at, and maybe as well pull some of the teams. I know that depending on different sports and different times that meet, start, and locations, our bus drivers are not available because they're running our students from school and doing the elementary runs. And so sometimes some of our athletes are responsible for getting themselves to or from events. Usually both in that case. And there was, I know one of the teams recently that nearly had like a drop-off only, which I had a student that said, well then, not every student has parents that come out, and if your phone dies or whatever else, like, there's a chance that you're stranded somewhere because somebody may not live by you in that coordination. So just a drop-off only doesn't quite make sense, but what the concern was is sometimes when that happens, when busing transportation for our athletes is not available, that can put a burden on the athletes or their families for financially for getting out there, right? We've made it work, and as it was pointed out, that transportation, we're not required to provide transportation. It is something that we do. We do not require pay to play. So it was just something that came up. And so we were talking about, and depending on the size of the team, I don't even know if some of these teams where this is may be a concern, even whether or not a 15-passenger van would work. And even like in that instance, for the one, I know the coach had to figure out what they were gonna do, or they were driving separately because the coach would not take a ride with the athletes to get home, right? So the passenger van came up as an option, and I'm not opposed to it. I just want to make sure it's a good use of money, that it would actually get used. And I don't know if we would mandate that they have to take it, or it would be an option, and how many they would. If you have a team of 30, then you're still either driving two vans, or some of your students are driving and some of them are in the van. So I will leave it at that.
So this was for non-bus sports?
Yeah, when a bus is not available.
I just wondered, because when we said the coach would drive them, the coach normally has to be also on the bus with those that are on the bus, so I just didn't know how they be in two places.
Yeah, so a couple of things. So first, if I could just start procedurally, you can do this two ways. You can take it back to, operations and finance, and they can discuss it, and then you can bring the exact numbers for an approval in November at the board meeting, or you can approve similar to the trucks tonight up to an X amount, and then we take that back to Adrian and RC, and they can figure out, what van might fit under there. So again, procedurally, it can either go back to the committee and then come back with a specific number for you to approve in November, or vice versa. You could prove up to amount tonight, and then they could start working on putting that together. As far as the busing issues, the number one issue for getting to a place is that sometimes our elementary runs aren't back in time. So a lot of elementary buses are getting in at 4:30, 4:45, and you might have a team that needs to leave, right? And then the other side of that was there were some events where they got there, but they didn't stay for pickup. We did some investigating. Almost all of the ones that didn't do a return home Like 95% was a coach's decision and a team decision, because you had people that needed to be different places, or you had a spread out activity, things like that. So that those were mostly coaching choices. We also wanted to know, what did it look like across the county? You know, were we the only ones? What was it where other people had problems? So yes, everybody has bus driver problems, just like with all our employees. But in the metro, there were 5 schools that don't do both ways. So they either do drop only, or they do, one of them had a mileage limit, 30 miles. I think that one was Clio. If it was beyond, they don't do anything, and some don't do anything at all. So there were 7 of the 12 that do like us, which is try to do a full service, both to the event and away from the event. So in this case, if you had a small team, and I don't even off the top of my head, maybe girls basketball would be, you know, if it was
golf, tennis. I mean, I was going to ask that. What sports?
I don't think tennis. But if you had under
Swim?
Bowling, swim.
Do they have that many?
I think golf is probably ours. And that's what I was going to ask. How many teams would this realistically even service? Are we talking 1 or 2 sports? Then I wouldn't see a value in doing it.
I think that's the thing that's
Right.
I think so too. I think we need to start at the top of the chain, and that would be Adrienne, correct? She would know all of the sports and when.
Right, and who would really benefit from
Right.
this? It'd be a waste to do it for one team in one season. The other question is, are coaches comfortable, right? So if there's one sport that qualifies, or let's say there's 5, are those coaches even comfortable taking the risk of driving that vehicle?
So as Chuck said, I think when it's 13 or less, you only have to have a driver's license.
Doesn't matter. Are they comfortable?
Yeah, oh, I see what you're saying.
Taking, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that's not everybody's cup of tea to drive a school vehicle and be responsible for 13 kids.
And are the parents comfortable having someone else who's not a bus driver drive their children? I mean,
when I take
question to ask.
other kids home, I make sure the parent knows and is okay with me driving their child home.
Can I just say something super quick?
Yes.
So I am on the tennis team, and I know that Owasso has a van like designated for their tennis team, and they take the girls wherever they have to go. But like for like tennis, we do have a smaller team, and like I don't know how the busing works if like a bigger team kind of takes the bus, because I know baseball and softball are like the same times as we are, so usually they have buses and we don't, because we have such a small amount of girls. So for like that, I guess you could apply the van to that, because it works because there's not that many girls and you're only taking them to one place. So just thought I'd say something.
Well, thank you.
So tennis and golf.
Well, my other question is too, was it, for example, like if it was a drop-off only, and maybe, would it be applied to the whole team? Or we're saying like, for those parents that literally cannot do the drop-off, we have 15 spots on this van, the rest of you get there the way you're supposed to? Like, so that even if it was a bigger team, per se, it would be for those that absolutely had no ride to get there, so that it could have been applied to bigger teams as well.
Sometimes need it, because I know sometimes there's not 2 buses, like the football
Yeah.
team. An away football game, we take 3 buses, 2 for the boys and 1 for the cheerleaders. Or, I'm sorry, 2 for the football players, 1 for the cheerleaders. You know, so sometimes I know there's not 3 buses available. Very rarely. I'm just saying that would be. Right, okay.
For a bigger sport, so we weren't just making that decision. So that we weren't just making that decision potentially for small teams, but as an additional add-on option for a bigger team that needed a little extra.
Are students allowed to drive to an event if they don't have a way to get home?
You have to have a form. You have to fill out a form with the athletic office.
That's another consideration. It would improve the safety for our students, you know, going to another school district.
Well,
So
are you
is
saying,
football
so like right now, if there's an athletic event and there is no busing available, our students are responsible for getting there themselves. They're either driving themselves, or they're riding with each other, or they're being transported by parents.
What happens if it's a large team and 20 kids gotta go, but only 10 can get a ride? And there's 10 kids left out and they can't hook up with these other parents? I thought that was a whole issue.
That,
I'm trying to help
there
them out.
hasn't, that I know of at least, that kids can't get to the event. It just can make it harder, but students usually they'll pair up or parents will bring students out. I mean, I haven't heard, and Reese, maybe you have or haven't, I haven't heard that students haven't been able to make it to their events. It just can make it a little stressful in the coordination and or again, where the comment was made, there are some students that are having the benefit of transportation on a bus, you know, and they're not putting the wear and tear or the mileage and the gas on their cars, but that's as well, you know what, it's an opportunity. We make it work.
So it does sound like we need to go to Adrienne. She'll have a good feel for the sports, the number of students, any of the issues that have come up, the likelihood that we would need transportation for the students. I think before, and Chuck, I appreciate you bringing it forward because I'm always concerned about student safety as well, right? Being able to participate when you want to, but also being safe. And I'd rather have an adult drive students than themselves. But I think Adrienne is the key to this, asking all of those questions. And
Bring her to the next meeting.
Well, and that leads us to, I wanted to know how many, and Rod says she always has a chart, but I'd like to see how many kids we have participating in all our sports across the board so we know where we're at.
And we can, both for the discussion, have her bring what she has for that, and then she can present. the full
Can she
report.
come next month? Is she scheduled for next month?
She's not scheduled for the board, but what I'm saying is we can bring her to the operations.
Oh, okay, yeah, we can do that, that's fine.
okay, great.
That's great, all right, so let's just keep that on the radar then, thank you.
Adrian is scheduled for next November 8th to talk.
Oh,
Perfect.
perfect. Well, have her do both.
Oh, so she's scheduled for next month, that's what I thought. or
Okay,
December.
great.
Yeah.
Is she gonna give us a breakdown maybe of like how many people are on a certain team?
That's what we're asking,
Seems
yeah, everything,
like-
yeah.
Okay, 'cause
Yeah, so that way we'll know what our heavy sports are, what our light sports are, and what's in between, and if it even calls to have another vehicle. Or if we do get a vehicle, maybe it tears down on the wear and tear. If we have the cheerleaders going in, how many cheerleaders do we have go to a game?
30?
Oh, there's that many?
There's a lot on
Oh,
varsity.
never mind that. I thought if there was like 8 or 10, the van would be better than driving the
Yeah.
bus all over.
Between 24 and 30, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, okay then.
But, you know, maybe it's 2 buses in the van, right? Maybe some girls have to ride
Yeah,
with the
but
stinky boy.
there's no sense of spending the cost on that. I just looked them up. They're $55,000 to $58,000.
I used to drive the mock trial team. We have a 15-passenger van. I used to drive them to all their events, but there was always some extra things that wouldn't fit in the van, and they just drove themselves.
I'm saying even to that case, I mean, is that an option too? So like when the debate team goes to a meet or Science Olympiad goes to an event,
Why
like,
use the bus? Why not use the van?
that's what I'm saying, just for additional like backing of how the van could potentially be used to make it more viable of a purchase was all I was saying.
It's a good point, Holly.
Less wear and tear on a
It's just not,
$150,000
yeah,
bus.
it wouldn't be strictly for athletics, that's just what I was pointing towards, but you're right, it'd be used for any school debates. Maybe the teachers all have to go somewhere, instead of them driving, they're going to a conference, and there's 10 of them, they drive in a van, I don't know. It's not just gonna be used singly for one thing.
For our board play date at the STEAM lab.
Okay, let's move on.
All right.
Carrie, let's move on.
Thank you, Chuck. So Rod will contact Adrienne. It's good that she's already scheduled for next month.
And we'll
If
see
she
her at
can go to
operations later this
operations and have a conversation, and then she can come here prepared to
Yes.
provide us with some data, and we might be in a better position to recommend a solution.
Very good.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Public comments, anybody want to address the board? I think all of our audience has left. Travis, you're always welcome. This is our opportunity to thank you, Travis, for all that you do. Good point.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Travis.
But we do appreciate you. Thank you.
You
All
mean
right.
the coaches, Travis? Really? What are they doing? Are they drinking at the doggone games or what? I mean, what's
You're
the
liable for those students. So if a deer
They-
runs out in front of me and they're coming after me as the driver and the school and whoever else.
Well, all of our drivers are supposed to be, whether they're school teachers or bus drivers, are all supposed to be checked with, proper operators' licenses and
It's
all
not
that's
a-
built in.
Personal liability people don't want to take, which I totally get.
All right, thank you. Comments and questions from the board members?
I have a couple, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Miss
here.
Jessica.
I'm trying to find it just to verify the time that I wanted to acknowledge and congratulate the Swartz Creek Flushing swim team. I missed homecoming on Friday and Saturday because for the second year in a row, our girls swim team had MISCA cuts. And this year, they had 3 relay cuts for the 200 free relay, the 200 medley relay, and the 400 free relay. We had 2 individual swimmers, one who qualified, Gwen McLaughlin, for fly, the 100-yard fly, and Josie Lenave, who qualified for the 50 free. And our girls did spectacular, and they set a new record for our pool. And at 3:52.98, they broke our school record by 4 seconds for the 400 free relay.
Yay.
Yes. So I would really like to acknowledge Gwen McLaughlin, Anderson Shaw, Mackenzie Harwood, Maddie Rowley, and Josie Lenave, and as well Coach Taylor and Coach Kelly. They have done a wonderful job with the team being cohesive and the girls working hard. And some of you have been around for a hot minute here, know that I speak very highly of the Swartz Creek Flushing Collaborative because, is at one point, it's girls from both schools that set that record and that got us there. And it teaches an incredible amount of collaboration and camaraderie within and without our district. So I just think that that's absolutely fantastic. And I sat here, I'm not quite certain what to say, and I'm not even certain if, I'm just gonna say this. I searched something about flags being political, and in some people have the perspective that any flag in nature is political. A pride flag is something that I just sat here and to consider. Somebody's identity, gender identity, sexual orientation has no politics. And something that from any party, there are supporters and opponents. And one of the things sitting here that really touched me that I didn't feel like I could articulate, but that really stood out to me, is that when teachers sponsor a club and they have a flag for our students, and especially with Kelly Hale here tonight to consider, what that is saying is that that is a safe place for a student. And when there are so many students who are suicidal and may not feel like they have a safe place, that is one room in a limited area in community potentially that they feel that they are safe. And there can be some, and I was reading through Troon where it sounds like during school hours, schools can put some restrictions, but because it being a club, that touches on a club allows for the right of free speech. And so before and after those school hours, there have been a lot of decisions that have been made that are in support of that. So it was just a perspective to consider since it's brought up. We may talk about it further, but I think it's very important that our students feel that they have a place that is safe to be. And I appreciate that our teachers make that available and our staff make it available in all of our schools.
Thank you, Jessica. Very well said. And as an add-on to that, you mentioned Kelly Hale. I'm so grateful that she was able to come here today and really highlight some of the great work that's being done in all of our schools, but at the high school. Jim, thank you so much for bringing her back. She did an amazing job, and she does an amazing job every day. It's kind of overwhelming to think about all of the folks that she touches every day and throughout the week, and the follow-up with all of the families. And, you know, we should be very grateful for folks like that.
100%.
Can I just say one thing, Carrie? I just kind of want to piggyback off of Jessica here and just remind everybody that regardless of who you love, whatever you may identify as, or regardless of any of that, here in Swartz Creek, you are loved, you are accepted, and in Swartz Creek, we will never, ever chastise someone for being themselves. And I just want to make sure, at least speaking for me, I can't technically speak on behalf of the board, but I think I might in this instance. In Swartz Creek, it does not matter who you love, what you identify as, any of that. You're loved and you are a person. And I just want to make sure that that's known for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Anyone else? Comments, questions?
Yes. How much is our student count now? Do we have a student count?
3482.
How much?
3482 right now.
3482.
So we have probably, a month to go through and make sure we can count all of our online students and VLC students, because they have a whole different way of doing student count. They have to check in on a weekly basis and all of that. So that number will be audited, but as of right now, we're slightly up.
That's good.
Can I ask a question? Is that number just the ones that were actually there on count day?
No, so
Okay.
for count day, as long as you are at school before or after within so many days, it counts. It creates more work on the secretaries to make sure that they're there, but you don't have to be there on count day to be counted. You just have to be there within a certain and verified that you are in Swartz Creek.
Thank you, Holly. Anybody else? Comments, questions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Support. Jack, Andrea, any comments or questions? Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Jessica? Thanks, everybody. Great meeting. We covered a lot of ground tonight. Thanks to all of our staff. Thank you so much, Travis. Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue, for making sure we always have everything. Thank you.